Okay, so last time we were speaking about the idea that as far as the essence of a Kodesh Baruch Hu is concerned, right? Our avodah and our tefillah and all the mitzvahs that we do, they're not really affecting or increasing any glory to the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the infiniteness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Infinity is infinity. We're not adding glory to Hashem. Our Averas don't take away glory from Hashem, right? On the other hand, we have the idea of Hashem as Melech HaOlam, the King of the world, right? Meaning He placed Himself into the position of being the King of the world, and as such, as the king of the world, he is a king, being, even though he's a king of the subjects, he's also in a way dependent on his subjects, because if you want to be a king, you need subjects. Without subjects, you are no king. So therefore, in as much as a king is a ruler over the subjects, at the same time, he is somewhat dependent on his subjects. So by becoming the Melech HaOlam, the king of the world, Hashem allowed himself to be kaviyachol dependent upon our actions and upon our prayers and upon everything that we do. So he allowed us to have our actions affect him. In what sense? Affect him in as much as he is the Melech HaOlam, the king of the world, which represents his chabrus, his connection, his attachment to the world. So our actions are connected to the part, if you could say that part, to the aspect of Hashem that is connected to the world, right?
Is that how he came up with the whole concept of freedom of choice? By him doing this, that's the whole logic behind the freedom of choice. By him creating himself as a king above us and becoming sort of dependent on what we do. That's the whole.
I'm not sure how that relates directly to the idea of the freedom of choice. That is the result of the freedom of choice. I'm not sure how that relates to the idea of the freedom of choice. But anyway, right. So anyway, so everything that we do is to the his chabrus, to the connection that HaKadosh Baruch Hu attached himself to the world. But we pointed out last time, so that's why, right? So that's why every bracha, he pointed out, Nefesh Hachaim pointed out that every bracha starts out in second person, Baruch Ato Hashem, blessed are you Hashem. When you get to the words Melech HaOlam, all the brachas switch to the third person, that you are who does this, his expression in the world.
So that's the part of last class that I didn't really. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz is supposed to be a higher level than Baruch atah Hashem. Like the third person, meaning it's so high and lofty that we're not even addressing him directly, or like which part of it?
Right, it's a little tricky over there, right? So that sounds like Baruch Atah Hashem when we're talking about, when we're talking to Hashem in the second person, right? So that in essence that is an appreciation that meaning that underscores our ability to grasp HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It sounds like because we are closer to him at that point, right? When we're talking about the third person, we're switching to the third person, it sounds like we are underscoring the idea that Hashem is far away from us, right? But at the same time, it's Hamoitzi Lechem min haaretz. He does something for us, right? So I understand what your question is right. It seems it should go the other way around, meaning Hamoitzi Lechem min haaretz should be referring to the actual, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we appreciate, right? Not the HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is distant from us.
Right.
Mashenkin, the third person seems to be us, right? Us underscoring the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is removed from us. I hear that question. I'm not sure what the answer is. Just only that I understand that at that point we are asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we say Hamoitzi Baruch Ato Hashem, we're saying Hashem, we want you to increase in a particular way, right? Which is, say, Hamoitzi lechem min haaretz, because you are the one who brings bread. And we're saying that we want that, right? Because we understand that the attachment that Hashem attached himself to the world, we want that attachment to be strengthened. How does it get strengthened? Through kind of its drawing from the infinite, from the part of Hashem that's not attached. So we want more of Hashem, so to speak, attached to the world.
And he come closer.
Right. So in that particular way. So, but we are underscoring, even though we are asking by a particular increase of an attachment, we want to underscore the idea that particular increase of the attachment should originate from the unrevealed part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right?
Okay.
We want more of the unrevealed part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to become revealed within the world. So Baruch Atah Hashem stands, blessed are you Hashem, meaning we asking Hashem to reveal in a general sense, to reveal himself in a general sense, but then when we're coming to the particular sense, we want to underscore the fact that that particular sense is going to originate from the unrevealed. Because at the end, that's what he's going to underscore now, that ultimately you can never make the mistake that a particular expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is particular. We want to make sure that that we understand that the particular expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always connected to the totality, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? And that's what he's going to explain now a little more in this Hagah. So he's saying, now, if you look at Kabbalistic Sidurim, right, or Arizal and all the Kabbalists, they will tell you. So each particular bracha relates to a particular midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like we said, different Hashem, or again, Kabbalists use different language. They will say a particular sphere of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So, for example, right, so we know that the second bracha of Shemona Esrei is called Gvura. So over there, it will be written, this is the sphere of Gvura, right? So Mashikosu b'kavonas atfila v'abrachas, and what the Mekubalim write in the kavana of tefillah and the bracha is lechavein, that you should be mechavein b'chol bracha, that in each blessing, that in each appropriate blessing, you should be mechavein kavana miyuchedes l'sfira miyuchedes. You have to have a particular kavana to relating to a particular sphere, right? So he's saying, he wants to point out now, loichas v'sholem le'atzmus sphere. We're not saying that you're being mechaven to the individual sphere, because that is considered kitzutz nitiyas. It's very appropriate. Kitzutz means cutting off. Nitiyas means plantings, right? So it's a very appropriate terminology for it. If you are addressing a particular sphere, right? Even though that sphere is a particular emanation of Hashem, but if you're directly talking to the sphere and say, I want the sphere of so-and-so to bestow this, right? So I want the sphere of chesed to bestow chesed upon me. So what you're doing is called kitzutz nitiyas, cutting off the plantings, meaning you are detaching the sphere from its source. And what is this? Meaning the infinity of Hashem, right? Just like we mentioned this idea before, that when it comes to avodas hakarbonas, the service of karbonas, Omru Rabbi Seinuzal, the rabbis pointed out the Braisa Sof Menachos, and the Braisa in the Meseches Menachos, V'huma HaSifri Parshas Pinchas, which is located in the Medrash Sifri in Parshas Pinchas. Boy Uri'eh, come and see Maksiv Parshas Karbonas. Go check out what is it written in all of Karbonas. Shaloi Nemar Behen Loi El V'Loi Elokim. It doesn't say the name of Hashem Kel, and it doesn't say in the name of Hashem Elokim El Havaya. It always mentions, the only name that is mentioned in Sefer Vayikra is Shem Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the closest name to the essence of Hashem. Why does it do that? So that it should not give a kind of a place for a baldin, for somebody, for a critic to kind of point out, oh look, you're serving any particular, you're serving a particular midah. Right? No, karbonas are always to Yud Kei Vav Kei, to the general, to the essence of Hashem. And that's what it says in the pasuk in Shmois, Zavech le'lehim yacharam, that somebody who's zevech, somebody who brings a korban le'lehim. So over here, the pasuk shot is le'lehim means other gods. Yocharam, he will be, Cherim, he will be distance. Bilti la Hashem levada. You should only serve to Hashem, Yud Kevavke levada, him alone, right? So by karbonas, the idea is again stressed that that the karbonas are only brought to the essence of Hashem, not to any even particular name of Hashem, right? Because it's brought to the essence of Hashem. So that's the same idea here. That just like by karbonas, by prayer too, we're not praying to any particular sphere. Came by avodas tefillah, so too in the service of tefillah, chalil lechaven l'shum koyach proti, chas v'sholom, to be mechaven to any particular particular sphere, koyach, particular power, or sphere miuchedes, or any particular sphere. Ela le'atzmos oden yochid ein soy baruch hu. You have to, of course, we're davening to the essence, to the essence of the Master, the only one, infinite, blessed be He. Klala koyches kulam. He is the source of all powers. Shemischaber b'ritzoyna yizborach, because He connected Himself, He attached Himself with His will, right, to the world. Mitam hakomus etzloi, for the reasons that we don't fully understand. We don't know why Hashem created the world, but He chose to do so, and He chose to attach Himself and become the king. Lifol, so we want lifol ba'oisosfira, that now that we know that we're talking to the essence of Hashem, we want that essence to express itself via a particular sphere. Okay, v'oiso hakoyach, or a particular force in nature, shehem b'seder hahishtalshelus, which is the seder, which is the way He organized that these things should work. Shekova hu yisbarach, that He set up. B'ritzoyna, through His will. Shekol sfira miyuchedes linyan prati, that He accomplishes particular things via a particular sphere. Shal yodo, that through it, poil inyan ze ba'olamis, this thing is accomplished in the worlds. Right, like we said before, kayesh. Sometimes when I do this, when I do din b'rishayim, I have this name. When I do this, I have this name. Right, because that's a particular expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu has His essence, and that essence expresses itself through the sphere. So when we are praying, we say, Hashem, I need parnasa, and let's say that I don't know what the sphere of parnasa is, but whatever the sphere of parnasa is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want you to express your essence more through the sphere and bestow upon me parnasa through the vehicle of this sphere, but you're not davening to the sphere directly. Right, okay. So he's going to bring. So my addition is going to bring a quote from this that he's about to mention. So he says in parentheses here, Ve'ayin b'tshuvas rivosh. Look at the tshuvas harivosh, siman kuf mem zayin, asher heishiv hari ben Shushan. Right. So there's a mekubal hari ben Shushan, and so the rivosh asked him a question about this particular thing, and look what the Samari ben Shushan answered to him. Okay, and with our words you will appreciate even greater v'hoven. Now I have this quote, this excerpt, so I'm going to read it to you now.
Okay.
So this is the Rivosh, which is like we're talking about, I think 1400s in Spain. Right, so in Mari ben Shushan, his contemporary, so he's writing what he asked of his contemporary. Okay. So he says, "Pamachas sha'alti." So one time I asked him, "Eich atem mekubolim? How are you mekubolim? Bracha achas mechavenim l'sfira yidu. How could you have in a particular bracha you are mechaven to a particular sphere? With bracha acheres, and another bracha l'sfira acheres, to another sphere, right? V'oid." And furthermore, v'kiyesh elakus l'spheres, is there godliness to a sphere, meaning a sphere like a god? She is pal odom lahen, that a person should pray to a sphere. So what do you mekubolim? It sounds like you guys are a little off. So v'onali, and he answered to me, chalilach, God forbid, shetiya hatfila ki im l'shem yisborach ilas ha'ilas. It's God forbid that our prayer should be to anyone but Hashem, blessed be He, the source of all sources. Okay, God forbid we're not davening to any particular sphere. So why is it? So how do we do this? Why is there a particular connection, right, to these spheres? But the matter is as follows: Kamoy mishi yesh l'riv For example, you have riv, you have an argument, okay? You have somebody, you have an enemy, right? V'shoyel me'amelech, and you go to the king, shiyasaloi din, and you go to the king and you say, I need you to judge between me and my enemy, right? Yivakish mimenu. So what does it mean? The king is you. What are you doing? So you're asking the king, Yivakish mimenu sheyitzave al hayoyishav al hamishpat sheyodin loy, that the king should send his judge, right? Or should whatever call up his judge and says, Judge so and so, please address this issue for me, right? So you're asking the king that the judge should that he should appoint a judge for you.
Right.
Now you're not gonna ask the king that he should tell the soichin that's like his treasurer to go and be set up the judgment for you, because the treasurer is not a judge. Kitia sheilosu betos, because that would be a mistaken request, right? You're not gonna ask him to appoint this minister when you need the other minister. And also, if you want the king to give you some kind of a gift, you're not gonna ask him to go send you a judge, because the judge is not in charge of the treasury. And you want him to tell the treasurer to give you something from his treasure. Furthermore, so similarly, if you want wine, you want him to tell you to send talk to the minister of Saramashkim, the minister of the what's the word? Who's the liquor? Right, whatever you call these people, right? The liquor master, okay? And if he wants bread, you go to the baker. And not any other way, in the other way around. So the same works regarding prayer. So there's no question that it's always to the ultimate source. That's your davening to the king, to Hashem. No question about it. But in your mind, your kavana is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the one that connected himself to the world, should be lehamshich hashefa, should extend the shefa, the influence, le'oisa sphira, to that sphira, misyacheses le'oisa dover, that is connected to that particular thing, shehu mevakesh shalom, that you are asking for.
Wait, how's it different versus praying to a particular thing?
Let me finish reading it, 2 more lines, and then we'll kind of try to bring it out. So, just like when you are davening for tzaddikim, so over there, you will be mechaven that Kodesh Baruch Hu should, via his expression, the midah, the emanation of chesed, should send chesed to the tzaddikim, shu midas rachamim, which is midas rachamim. And when you're davening against the minim, the enemies, right, and all sorts of heretics and enemies, you will ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to express himself upon those enemies via the midah, the sphere called Gvura, Midas Adin, which is Midas Adin, Hekesh al Zen, etc. He continues. That's the end of the excerpt. So the idea is, and again, this is really where the source of Avodah Zarah comes from. Right?
Yeah.
This is what the Rambam says how Avodah Zarah developed in the first place. Meaning there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is essential, and again, we don't know his essence. We have no way to understand. But he connected himself to the world that he created. The creation developed in various stages. We understand he has malachim. He has ways that he brings out certain things into the world, right? So we're not. Are we praying to the sphere? No, we're not praying to the sphere. That would be Avodah Zarah. We're praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But we also understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu expresses himself via certain channels. So we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we want a particular thing, we're asking him to express himself via that channel which he set up to deliver that particular thing. Right? Is that clear?
I still don't see a difference. How is it different versus just praying to that particular thing?
Well, because we're not asking the Sphira to do anything. The Sphira is not making the decision. We're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to express himself via that Sphira that he set up. Like you said,
Spheres.
I'm asking the Melech
I
to send the judge. I'm not asking the Melech to send the treasurer.
I understand, but then how can you say to sort of like an all inclusive thing that, hey, by the way, just concentrate on this particular thing for me? Does that mean you know better what you need versus the one who's giving it to you?
No, there's a different.
What? Well, let's say it's not really that complex. Meaning you are a person. You have different emotions, right? Sometimes you get angry. Sometimes you get very happy and pleasant and giving, right? Okay, but does that take away from you being one and the same being? So if I tell you something that somebody did to me and you get very upset, right? So I asked you to channel your anger and you got very upset at whoever did this. Say somebody, I don't know, somebody beat up your kid, right? You went ahead and you expressed yourself via the channel of anger. That doesn't take away from your oneness. That the next day when somebody did something nice to your kid, you're going to repay him back and you do something nice to him back, right? So that's the same. So the same idea here. If I am asking, right? So if I'm asking for goodness upon tzaddikim, like he says, right? So if I'm asking Kodesh Baruch Hu to express Himself via that goodness, so and that goodness, we're going to call that a sphere. Again, these are okay. I mean, yeah. Again, these are very kind of fine dockeristic things. These are, but that's yeah. It makes things complicated. Okay, but that's the main idea here is again that we are davening to the essence of Hakadosh Baruch Hu as He's connected to the world, and asking Him to express Himself in certain ways. Again, on our level, we don't do that. Maybe somebody who understands, then he can appreciate this fully. That there's a reason why Kabbalah is not studied before certain. It's not for everybody. It's because it is this. It's easy to what's called kitzutz nitiyas, to cut off the branches. Okay, so. Okay, so the rest of the main point we said. The rest of it is just additional sources for the same idea. Okay, so just the last line I'm going to read of the Haggadah. The last line of the Haggadah says, "V'zeh shomer Rabbi Seinu zal b'sifri," and this is what our rabbi said in Sifri. Right, me. Ka'Hashem Elokeinu b'chol kareinu elov. Who's like Hashem in all our calling out to Him? So the rabbi said, Elov v'loy limidosav. We are calling out to Him and not to His midas. Okay, we are only calling out to Hashem, not to His midas. Ella. So continuing in the main text, Ella shekol kavonas libeinu. Ella, rather all of the kavonas of our heart, b'chol habrachos, and all of the blessings, ve'at filis, and all of our prayers. Tzarech, it has to be Shitiyah le'atzmos ein sof baruch Hu. It has to be, of course, to the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the infinite essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mitzad his chabroi, however, from the aspect of his attachment, kiratzoinoi, as he willed, is Baruch Eloi Lomes, to the worlds. Shemitzidom, from that aspect, from the aspect of the creation, heim kol hatoyerim, that's where we get all of the various names, Toirim, identification, V'Hashemos, and the names, Mischalfim, that can change. Shakai, again, Elakim, Kel, Yud Kei Vav Kei, that was all from our aspect, from the creations, because that's where we see Hashem's expression in the world. Lipoil to that Hashem should act, Lehamshich Behem Or, to pull down to the creation light, V'Shifas Kedusha, and the influence of Kedusha, Metz Musai, Yisborach, from the essence of Hashem. Kefi hisoyrus hamagia eleihem, and this additional attachment, this additional light that we asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring out into the world, that additional light is only kefi hisoyrus, it comes from our actions, meaning it is stirred, it is brought down via our actions, from the actions of men, shall call ish mi'am segula, of every man from the chosen nation, im b'chesed, im b'mishpat, right? We said before in the first chapter that Hashem tzilcha, Hashem is your shadow, right? So im b'chesed, so if we act b'chesed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu also expresses himself in the world with chesed. Im b'mishpat, if we act with judgment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu expresses himself in the world with judgment. Im b'tzedakah, with charity, HaKadosh Baruch Hu acts with charity. Im b'rachamim, with mercy, etc. Ha'me'at, im rav, and then it has levels, of a little bit or a lot. Kocha, similarly, hu al zeh ha'oifen, in exactly the same way, Vashir, in that measure, bediktuk otzum, in an incredible exactitude, b'mido, b'mishkel, in perfect measure, in perfect weight, inyan his chabruso is baruch ala koiches v'elomes, is exactly that same way, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's connection and attachment to all the forces of the world and the worlds themselves. L'shanois seder his kashrusam, to augment or to alternate the order of the interactions, le'amshachas shifas oirim, to increase the bringing down of light, the kol prote han hagosam, and all the various ways that they are arranged. Im ledin v'roigis, whether to judgment and anger, im lechesed l'rachim, or to kindness and mercy, v'gam shir adin, and even the amount of din and the amount of chesed, hame'at im rav, all of that. Again, all of that emanates from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's attachment, and the attachment increases or decreases from the worlds and from all of the forces in the world based on the action of mankind. Not only in quantity, but also in quality. Right? If we express in chesed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will increase more chesed. If we express more anger, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have more anger. A lot of anger, a lot of anger. A lot of chesed, a lot of chesed. Okay.
Wait, can I ask a question on this?
Yeah.
But doesn't work in the reverse?
Explain.
Who causes what action to happen first? Him doing something good to us, then we replicate in good? Or is it driven by us and then he responds?
So in the first gate, in the first shar, right, he made it a point to say that primarily it is us, right? Tzelem Elokim. We are, so to speak, the Elokim in this world. We are like gods in this world. We run the show. The whole world is dependent on our actions. Again, that's the basic idea. Clearly, when you have a tango, right? It's us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so it's both. Both things are happening at the same time. So it's hard to know, his action, right? We have what's called Isarusa de Lasata, right? We have what's called stirring from below, and we have Isarusa de Le'ela, what's called stirring from above, right? So for example, they say Chanukah represents Isarusa de Lasata. We went out to fight, and so we caused a certain revolution, not only in the physical sense, in the spiritual sense as well. So that was mostly our stirring. I mean, we caused things to happen from below. Purim represents the idea of Isarusa de Le'ela, where mostly we were passive. We just prayed and davened, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu did what he did, and he caused the salvation, right? So again, in the overall picture, the general picture is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up the system to work, that we are the masters of the system. We hold the keys. But of course, it's not, it gets more complicated than that, because it's really, we hold the keys to HaKadosh Baruch Hu increasing, but it goes both ways. Plus we have other statements like Yakveini Pa'amayim. There are other statements like, if you step away from Hashem one step, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes away from you 2 steps. So when it gets back to you, it's going to be double hard. So again, there's much. I mean, the calculus here is complicated. That's the full answer. Okay, so zeu she'omru b'amorim. This is what they said in plenty of places in Mamorim. Shelo nitnu ha-mitzvahs, that mitzvahs were not given. And I mentioned this before. Ela letzarev behenas habriyas. The mitzvahs were not given. They were not given for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not need our mitzvahs. So what was the purpose of the mitzvahs? Letzarev behenas habriyas, to purify. Letzarev is like when you are when you are melting down a metal, that's what in order to get rid of all of its impurities, that's what litzarif mean. So the mitzvahs were given only litzarif b'enes habriyos, to purify the creations, right? Hainu shetzorich godol hema litzarif ulezakek. There's a great purpose to the mitzvahs, to purify and to cleanse, lehafrid, seeking to remove all the imperfections, mikol hakoiches, from all of the forces, v'olomos haberuim yitzarif v'yislabe. So we do the mitzvahs to purify ourselves, but as a result, the creation is also purified and also gets cleansed, right? Gets cleansed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So God, but there is, he's saying, so right. So again, so the mitzvahs, of course, is not for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, again, like he said before. We cannot increase His glory to the essence, but they are for us. But for us, again, that means that if we are purified, we allow more of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to enter into this world, because the world becomes more kodesh, more holy, and so HaKadosh Baruch Hu has more ability to express His essence in it, right? So that's what. So in fact, so our, even though the mitzvahs are for us, but at the same time the mitzvahs are also allowing more expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. But there is another element here. V'gam kein b'mashma. There is another element in this word litzarif, because the word litzarif has another meaning to it, right? Hainu lechaber. Tziruf also means to combine. So the word litzarif has two meanings. One is to purify, right? And the other one is to combine, to unite, right? Because really, when you're melting something down, you are allowing, you could melt two pieces into one. So melting accomplishes two things. It gets rid of all of the imperfections, but it also melts things together. So litzarif hainu lechaber lekasher also means to attach and to intertwine. Kol hakoiches v'alomes haberuim. So you right, one of the purposes of our avodah is to unite all of the forces of nature and all of the creations. Remember, just like we said again, the Shar Aleph is that human being is a microcosm of creation. So every time he does something, and if he does something right, he unites all of the worlds into that unity and expresses God's unity via his actions. So kol hakoiches v'olomes haberuim, all of the worlds that are created, misukonim misudorim, and he fixes them and he rearranges them kifia kavono, according to the intent, v'harotzen, and the will ha'elyon baruch hu, that Hashem has intended. Umimela gam beis Yisrael am segula yisachtu Hashem miyuchad, and furthermore he brings unity to Beis Yisrael, to the entire nation of Klal Yisrael, to become a true chelek of Hashem, become the true chosen nation of Hashem. By again, because it's ultimately the only midah that finds expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the midah of oneness. Ultimately, that's the only midah that can really find expression in our physical world. That's the closest midah that we can really appreciate of Hashem, and that's the midah of oneness. So therefore, tziruf, the idea of purification, also has another sense to it, the idea of unification. So it's purification and unification. Shirak al zeh tachlis bo kol mitzvahs, and that's the purpose of all of the mitzvahs. Va'avoda kadosha kula b'klala, and all of our holy service is included in this idea. Zeu inyan habracha lo yizborach b'chol habrachos v'atfilas. Now back to that original idea, and that is the essence of all of the blessings and all of the prayers. Remember, which we said, the explanation is Tosefes v'ribui mamash, real addition and expansion. K'mashmoy, it's a literal word, but Baruch means, when you say Baruch Atah, you're literally saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we want you to increase. Now, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't increase, but Shezehu Ratzoyna, that is Hashem's will. Yisborach, blessed be He, mitam komus itoy, for a reason that we don't fully understand. Shinisakein, that we should fix. Uniyached, and unite. Alidei brachos, via the blessings, ve'atfilos, and the prayers. Hakoiches ve'olomes holyonim, the forces of nature and all of the worlds up above. Shiyu muchonim, that via this unification they will be muchonim, they will be ready, they will be what's the word I'm looking for? They will be fit. That's right. They will be fit. v'ru'uyim, and worthy lekabel shifas kedusha or elyon, to accept the kedusha of the light from above. Ulehamshich lehoisib be'em kedusha ha'or v'rava brachas, and to add in them, to add to them the holy light and all of the blessings. Me'atzmusa yizborach, from the essence of Hashem, hamischaber aleim, that chose to attach himself in them. Umispashet b'soichem, and allowed to express, to expand, to diffuse through them. Umemela yushpazet isefas bracha, and as a result, there will come down an increase of blessing, v'akdusha, and holiness, gamal am segula, also on the chosen nation, shegormu, that they were the cause of this, l'kol hakoved, to all of this honor, right? So again, so getting back to the whole idea, the main idea is that via our blessings and our tefillas, we are really increasing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's essence in this world. We are saying that attach yourself more. How are we creating that attachment? Via the unification, right? Because that's the ultimate Kiddush Hashem comes from when we see that all of the divergent forces in the world are really all connected. They are really all an expression of one infinite God. And all of the spheres that are particular, they're all expression of one infinite God. And that's all of our brachas. Our brachas is to, and all of our mitzvahs included, is to connect all of the divergent pieces into one, and to come closer via that connection, come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and as a result, Mina connected Mida, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes closer to the creation, and therefore the world is filled with more what we call light of Hashem, and more blessings shower upon the chosen nation who caused this. I hope that's clear. Okay. V'zeh Omer Rabbi Shmuel, and this is what Rabbi Shmuel says, K'shebikishu Yisborach mi'itoi, right? That, again, going back to Rabbi Shmuel, that Hashem told him, Yishmuel b'ni barcheni, Yishmuel, my son, bless me. What was his response? His response was, Yiratzon, that it may be Hashem's will, Sheyichbeshu rachamecha as ka'ascha, that your mercy should overpower your anger, V'yigoylu rachamecha mideisecha, and your racham, your mercy should overpower all the midas, v'tisnakim bonecha b'midas harachamim, and you should act with your children with the midah of rachamim, v'tikonis lehem lefnim mishuras hadin, and you should enter in them lefnim mishuras hadin. Don't just Rabbi Shmuel was asking even a bigger thing. He was saying, don't do just midah keneget midah, so to speak, but go even lefnim mishuras hadin. Overpower your anger, overpower your judgment, and increase your connection with the world and your connection with Klal Yisrael, lifnim mishuras hadin, beyond the pale of judgment. Okay, and now he's going to transit to the kind of to the next layer of this idea. V'ayin zor chodesh in Rus. V'achalta, right? So this goes to benching. So eating and drinking is going to be the essence of this whole this whole next layer. Okay, because he's going to come out to say that eating and drinking is the parable for avodas Hashem and the whole creation, and the bracha, and that's why uverachta is specifically the only bracha that's mentioned in the Torah is for after eating and drinking. Right, so it says. So the pasuk says, "V'achalta v'savotu v'rachta Hashem Elokecha." You will eat and you will be satisfied and you will bless Hashem your God. V'omar Rabbi Yehuda, Godol koyach birkas hamazon. Great is the power of birkas hamazon. Shemoisiv koyach bracha u'b'pamalia shel mala, because it adds power. It adds actually force to the pamalia shel mala, to the kingdom of heaven, right? So over here it sounds like the Birkas Hamazon is adding force to the kingdom of heaven. Right, so again, so the idea here is because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu kind of allowed to happen by attaching himself to this world and becoming the king of the world. And the same idea is expressed B'Zohar Chodesh. It says there, one who eats and does not bench. Nikra Gazlan is called a robber. Shenemar, and the pasuk that's brought for this is Goizul Aviv Imoy. He steals from his father and mother. What does it mean? He steals from his father and mother. The father that's being hinted to over here is Hashem, and the mother is Klal Yisrael. Right? So Goizel Aviv Ve'ima, he steals from Hashem. What does it mean he steals from Hashem? So somebody who eats and doesn't bench, what does that mean he steals from Hashem? So in the way he understands it is as follows. Because he, as a result of not benching, not adding that bracha, meaning not asking Hashem to increase his attachment to the world, he's actually not giving the world its food, its sustenance, it's the shefa that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was supposed to be mashpia, the attachment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to make. He's not allowing that to happen. He's moineya me'alomis. Therefore, he's retaining from the world's shifas bracha ve'akdusha. The extension of blessing and holiness that would have come down had he benched, right? So a very powerful idea over here is that he ate. Now Hashem says, go ahead, bless me, right? It's like Rabbi Shmuel told, like Hashem said to Rabbi Shmuel, B'ni barcheni, come on, bless me. This is what we're doing in benching. It's as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is asking us, go ahead, bless me, right? Meaning, allow me to increase in this world. And a person doesn't bench. So he prevents HaKadosh Baruch Hu's essence, right? Expansion into this world. So he's goizul over v'ima. It's as if he steals from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'chein kol ha'mikrois, and that's the idea that is expressed in all of the psukim when it says, Borchi nafshi Hashem, my soul blesses Hashem. Baruch ato Hashem Elokei Yisrael. Blessed are you, Hashem Elokei Yisrael. It's v'chol ki yoytze b'zeh, and all of the psukim similar to this. It's not just praise of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Is hakol hu al zeh inyan. The idea is all to be understood, like we said, that it is. We're asking, or David HaMelech is asking, my soul is helping HaKadosh Baruch Hu to expand in this world. And all of this comes from the will that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made to attach himself to the creation. Al zeh ne'amar, and that's what it says at the end. And again in Menachos it says, ha'avoda tzarich gavoya, that our service, who is it for? Is actually tzarich gavoya. It is for God, right? It is for God. It's not for us. So on one hand, again, there's this paradox from the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What the service is for whom? Only for us. Letzaref hasabriyas. It's only to purify the creation. It's only for us. It's not for him at all. We're not adding his glory. We're not. But from the aspect of the creation, from the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did enter into this creation and did want to become the melech of this creation. So then from that aspect, the service is for Hashem. It is for him to expand himself. And that's why when you don't do the service, it's as if you're stealing from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because you're not allowing him to express himself in the way that he wanted to express himself in the creation. So every time a person doesn't do a mitzvah that he was supposed to do, doesn't do the avodah that he was supposed to do, he prevents HaKadosh Baruch Hu from expressing himself the way he wanted to express in the world. And that's goizul over v'ima. That's what it means he's stealing from Hashem. Okay? So that concludes this part of it. Now, right? So that's just a hint of this next layer. So let's get it. Let's just touch that next layer, which is going to be even more complicated. Okay. Amnam, however, lahavin ikroi shel inyan ha'toisefes. Now, if you want to really understand this idea of toisefes, of addition, meaning of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu adds himself into the world, v'ribui bracha, and the increase of blessing, ba'olomis, in the world, lidei maseh odom, how it is accomplished through the action of man, umahusa inyan, and the essence of this idea, tzarich ha'olomis lezeh, that the way the worlds need this, then let's proceed. Hine Rebbeinu Zal Omer, our rabbi said, Hani chamisha borchi nafshi keneged mi omran David. So David says five capitals where it says borchi nafshi, my soul blesses Hashem, right? Borchi nafshi, my soul blesses. So what are these five borchi nafshis? So the Gemara in Bracha says lo omran ala keneged HaKadosh Baruch Hu keneged neshama. These five borchi nafshis are said regarding Hashem and regarding the neshama. So the Gemara in Brachas makes a parallel between three things. Well, really parallel between two things: the Kodesh Baruch Hu and the Neshama, and the parallel is expressed by David the Melech via these words: Baruch Nafshi, my soul, Baruch Nafshi, my soul, and Hashem, blessed Hashem. So one of the things that is said there, Ma Kodesh Baruch Hu Molei Kol Olam, just like a Kodesh Baruch Hu fills the entire world, Av HaNeshama Mleia Kol Aguf, so too our Neshama fills our entire body. Okay, so that's one of the 5 connections between Neshama and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're not going to look up the Gemara now maybe next time. Okay, so there's an idea here. He's just using the first one, but the idea here is that there's a parallel to be drawn between the Neshama, the way it attaches itself to the body, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu attaches himself to the creation. Again, this medrash, this Gemara appears in a few different places, okay, in the Zohar, etc., and you could look at the Arizal. Good. Okay, so I'm just gonna run the Haggadah, and then we're gonna stop. V'imki razal himshil, and he's again a word of warning. Even though our rabbis, himshilu his chabruso his baruch la'alomis, li his chabruso neshama laguf, even though our rabbis compared the attachment of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the worlds as our attachment of our neshama to the guf, al yitach hashem. Please do not make a mistake. Haroi divreim. If you look at into these words, that the parallel is exact. Okay, don't think that the parallel is exact. Be'emes, for in truth, in fact, the parallel is at all unparalleled. Like it actually points out in the Zohar that he quoted, and a few other places. In fact, the pasuk says clearly, "Ve'el mit damyan el." To whom can you compare God? So all the comparisons that we make to God are just a certain aspect of comparison, just an idea that we want to take away from that, but they're not exact comparisons. V'gam kol mi she'ein seichel, if anybody with eyes and the seichel, Yovin, he will understand she'eich efshar, how can it be possible likach dimyon mehanivroyim ela boiris baruch shmoy, how can it be possible to take a moshel, to take a comparison from the creations to the creator? Those two things are not really comparable. Okay, so that's just a word of warning. In fact, he's going to come out and say that they are very comparable, and he's going to talk about Nevi'im that make all the time comparisons from the creation to the creator. But just keep in the back of our head that it's not, the comparison is not exact. Okay, let's probably stop at this point. Okay, so just to summarize, what happened here. So the main point of this, there are two main points, I guess we pointed out, that even though that there are particular expressions of Hashem, we constantly have to keep in mind that a particular expression is attached to the essence, to the greater thing. Furthermore, he said that there is these two layers. That of course, mitzvahs are made letzaref hasabriyas. The mitzvahs are for us on one hand, and therefore letzaref means to purify us, but letzaref also means to unite all of the aspects of creation. And by uniting all of the aspects of creation, we allow HaKadosh Baruch Hu to express himself greater and come closer to his creation, and as a result, fill the creation with more light. So too, everything that we do brings HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the world the way he wanted to be, because he chose, for the reasons we don't fully understand, he chose to be the Melech HaOlam. He chose to express himself via, to attach himself to the world. And that's why anytime we do not do what we're supposed to do, we don't allow him to express himself the way he wanted. Do not allow the world to come closer to him the way he wanted. And we do not create the unity, the oneness, the expression of oneness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted. And that's what is, and this idea is expressed in the idea of Baruch, of blessed. because we're telling Hakadosh Baruch Hu, we're asking him to make that happen, that master plan. Baruch basically tells you, Hashem, fulfill your will, fulfill the will that you wanted to reveal yourself in this world, and it only to the essence and not to any particular expression. Okay, I guess that's it.
Clear.